Hello everyone. What we're about to watch applies to all of us and our future. Please share this information to everyone you can. May Christ be upon us all.
Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, she's been following this United Nations sovereignty grab going through the WHO. It can happen, folks, under the current administration. All political views are my own. If the U.S. goes along with it, it will happen. All the votes are taking place. So, Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, please take the floor and explain to us what's going on and what America has to do to respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you to Mike Lindell for what he's doing to secure the election system. Yes, what I want everyone to know is there was a consequential vote taken yesterday at the United Nations, and it passed overwhelmingly. Only 14 countries voted no, and it was to vote that Israel has to leave their own land, to leave Judea, Samaria. That means Jerusalem, that the Jews would have to leave, and they have to be gone within 12 months. So that was the vote. Afterwards, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, said that he agrees with this, that this is exactly what should happen. This is extremely disturbing. The United States has more clout than anyone at the United Nations. We pay the freight, basically. We pay over 25% of all the dues.
Michelle, before we dig into the details of the UN sovereignty grab, we've talked about this. Bob Good came on before. Where do people get their news to follow this? Because very few people are aware of any of this. Except for the folks who follow the War Room and your great work, etc. But where can people follow what's going on, these UN, Euro, EU, globalist issues, and then just keep on with the analysis you were unfolding for us?
Well, right now I would send people to stopworldgovernment.org. We have a statement up on that site. We're asking everyone to sign that statement and to get more people to sign it, because let me tell you what is happening right now. Yesterday there was the vote at the UN, and the vote overwhelmingly was that Israel needs to leave Judea, Samaria, and Jerusalem, half of Jerusalem. So just think of this, the most sacred site in Judaism, the Western Wall, they've been ordered that they have to leave within 12 months. Now, this is what's happening. This is the annual meeting at the UN is in session now. So every head of every government in the world is in New York now. They're all going to be giving speeches, but on Sunday, something very important is going to happen. It is called Summit of the Future, and anyone can go to the UN website. I urge you to type in Summit of the Future. Just read the first 4 or 5 opening paragraphs. Over and over, they say the term global government, global government, global government. And they say, we know what we want. We want one world government, but now we're going to put it's the how. And what that means is they want to put the handcuffs on every nation. And so the handcuffs are going to be delivered on Sunday. It's a pre-written, consensus-driven document, and it's called Pact for the Future. And in the Pact for the Future, was each of the governments are saying, yes, we're going to give more power to the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. He'll have power over complex shock scenarios in the world. So like if there's a cyber attack, or if there's, and that includes conflicts. So conceivably this current conflict in Israel, Antonio Guterres would have power. All nations are giving up sovereignty. We talked about through the World Health Organization. The end goal of the World Health Organization, the Global Pandemic Treaty, was to give power up from the nations to the UN. They didn't get that through in May. We talked about that on your show in May. They didn't get that through, so they're doing it by another way. Through this Pact for the Future, it's happening Monday. They're dropping it. It's going to be a done deal. And so it doesn't have to come back to the United States and be voted on. It's just going to be done. He'll have the power, so he can sanction Israel. He can put all sorts of international rules at work against Israel. But realize, when he's been empowered at this level, he has power against the United States, against us, against any nation on earth. So any crisis that comes up, now the UN Secretary General would have the power to dictate to us what we can do, to Israel what they can do. This is a crisis moment now, and it's going to happen on Sunday. So I want everyone to go to stopworldgovernment.org, sign this statement, and we're trying to get this to President Trump so that he understands what's happening at the UN, so he understands what's happening against Israel. And really all this is, it's a part of the battle against the Jewish people and the Jewish state, because the UN is just trying to put their finger on the scales this is part of the diplomatic war against Israel, because essentially what they want to do is take them off their land, put them in an area that's 9 miles wide, and then drop bombs there. It's a lot easier to kill the Jews in a smaller, restricted area. So I'm telling you, the vote was yesterday. The pact is being dropped on Sunday. And I think this is a great compare and contrast moment, because what did Kamala Harris just say yesterday? She said she is not going to be for giving ammunition to the Jews. I mean, can you believe this? They're at war. She doesn't want to give them ammunition. And she is demanding that an Islamic terror state be developed, that the terrorists be given a terror state next to Israel so that they can achieve their goal, which is to kill every Jew in Israel. This is a genocide. It's not Israel committing the genocide. It is the terrorists committing the genocide. So this is reality. So please, everyone, go to stopworldgovernment.org. I've sent this off to some influential people to get this to President Trump so that he can weigh in on this, because he could do this at the UN. If he is president, he would have the power to stop this at the United Nations.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, Michelle, you've been at this for a long time. This is just one piece of this globalist takeover. All fascists throughout history want to unify power, right? Hitler wanted 10 corporations. Fascism was the relationship between the state and business. Most people don't realize that. Mussolini wanted 10 companies. Today in the U.S., we have the Magnificent Seven. I think Harris the other day said, hey, look at me, the Fortune 100, I got all of them. They're all for me, all the Magnificent Seven. But in terms of this globalist order, RFK Jr. laid it out very well in the back of his book, The Real Fauci. Yeah, and so who else? Who's pushing this, right? Lara Logan's come on. She's a superhero on these issues, explaining the relations. Bannon is the man who sees over the horizon better than anyone, all these globalist connections. So, you know, these countries are all run by the billionaire class, right? It's not just that the countries decide to do this stuff. So who's pulling the strings and who wants to ultimately run the world?
Well, it's the richest people in the world, the richest corporations in the world, and you have to look no further than the World Economic Forum. That's the crowd that meets in Davos about every 6 months. They all fly in their private jets and decide how we're going to become slaves to them. That's essentially what they do. And they're completely on board with it. They have no conscience about it. And so they hate, quote, democracy. You want to talk about who the danger to democracy is.
Right.
It's these oligarchs who want to ensure that really the world becomes smaller so that they can control it, control us, control our money. That's what digital ID is about, to control us, our movements, and our money. And that's part of what the UN said they were going to do. They were announcing that through the WHO. That's what happened through the international health rules that were passed in May of this year. They didn't get the Global Pandemic Treaty through. Didn't matter. They got the rules through at the end of May, and that demanded that there would be global digital ID for every person on Earth. And I just got it on my Delta app. Do I want to sign up for the global digital ID? I saw it in LaGuardia. There's a special lane that they have to go in through security where you're going through the digital ID. So I mean, this is very well traveled. And also, I just read an article 2 days ago, beginning in April of 2025, to get into the UK, you have to have permission now from them, and you have to pay fees. So this is that beginning now of actually enacting the global digital ID, which is a part of the one world government. So I think if Trump gets in, he's going to stop this thing and shut it down. But this should be a part of the campaign conversation. So stopworldgovernment.org. You need to bring this issue up. Most people have no idea what happened yesterday at the UN, this vote. They have no idea what's going to happen this coming Sunday, including members of Congress. That's not dissing them, but you know how busy they are. You've been there, you've done that. But people have to know.
My brothers and my sisters, we are seeing Bible prophecy unfold in front of our very faces. Please prepare mentally and get right with Christ if you haven't already. The time is drawing near. I love all of you, and we will continue our reading of Genesis tomorrow. Good night.